the Mavericks.
Oh yeah,
because of the popularity there. They were already kind of popular, but remember, with the pandemic, a lot of bands have not toured through Canada, so it's like, oh man, it's the Mavericks, and it's the Mavericks and Los Lobos together is a pretty good double bill, especially if you're any kind of a country music, blues music fan.
And Alberta loves their country.
Oh man. And they can, like, as you know, I mean, Los Lobos can play any countrified stuff or whatever. And in fact, I've seen them on the road with the Mavericks. Mavericks are really good with Raul Malo in the gang. They're really good. You get some very good musicians. So anyway, but good for them.
All right. I'm just typing out my tweet.
Oh, right.
Special guest.
Type out your tweet. Yes. Hey, you know what's funny is that when I get a guest that can't confirm, I'll confirm like with you the week of. I'm like, all right, you know, if you give me a couple of days, I can find a replacement, whatever. And so in this case here, you know, we sort of went back and forth, and I'm like, well, I couldn't mention his name last week because he hadn't been confirmed. Plus, we didn't know what was going on with the playoffs. That's the other thing. Anybody that's working in television now, it's like, well, I don't know my schedule. Like, how much work could you be doing at like 9:30 in the morning on a Friday? Like what? Their practice doesn't start till 10:30 if you have to be at practice. What's going on?
Huh. Panger's a busy man. Okay, so I'm just going to call up. You got to retweet what I tweeted.
Okay, you just tweeted it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna just open it up on this. Check out who's texting me. Might be my lawyer. Hold on. No joke. Maybe after the recording, I'll tell you something.
We did one 15 minutes ago too, and all right.
Oh, the 15 minutes ago was the pre-tease tease.
Gotcha,
and I said the link is coming. I did
beautiful
over tease.
But I had already sent the link, hadn't I? On my original tweet.
Well, there's a specific link for this episode that only exists after we go live.
Oh, I see.
Like a
versus my YouTube channel.
Yeah. This is you click it and you're going to hear us and see us.
Gotcha.
All right, everybody. Okay. Let's see where we're at here. Hebsy man. I love it. I don't know what'll happen to Panger because he's older, but whenever we have a Gen X guest on, there's always going to be a moment where they have to, do what Wayne and Garth did to Alice Cooper. They're going to have to get down on their knees and say, Mr. Hebsher, you are my lifeblood. I am not worthy. Every Gen X guest, I've been documenting this. Guys like James Sharman, all these guys, it's like, okay, got to kiss the ring.
That's
and I'll bet you anything. No, I don't know the man at all. I don't know.
It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. But it's funny because my son had asked me, and he's on the road now. They did their first show. They're doing all of the U.S. Their first show was last night in Tampa. Amazing. Sold out.
Wow.
Sold out at the Tampa Theater. And I've seen shows there. I saw George Thorogood and the Destroyers there. I saw the Police there. It's a great theater. It's a theater, right? And they sold it out. And I'm, he's like, Dad, sometimes I get recognized here and there. I get recognized in places I never thought I'd get recognized. I'm like, you know what? It is a weird feeling. It can be a great feeling. It can be a scary feeling. It can be all those things, right? But once you see people looking at you a certain way, like that, you look familiar kind of a way. It's like your radar just goes right up. Oh, okay. They're not looking at me because my fly is undone, right? Or I have a nice shirt on. They're like, I know you. And then the next thing is, how do I approach? Like if you saw, I don't know, let's say you saw Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
So you go, I know him. And then your next thing is, do I approach him? Do I make eye contact with him? Do I yell out, hey, Kareem, love your work? Do I do nothing? Do I take a picture? Do I ask for an autograph?
Yeah, you have to do that really quick. You're right.
I've done it. I did it with John Cleese. I went, what do I do? Do I make a joke? Do I and 99.9% of the time, the other person kind of knows what you're going through, and they're either going to react favorably with a little nod and they keep moving, or they're going to completely ignore you. And then you have another decision to make, which is, oh, fuck, they ignored me. I'm going to go after people. And I've had, I had someone chase me down to the parking lot one time. I didn't know this person. I thought they might hurt me or they didn't like me or.
Yeah, because you're not.
We're TSN fans. We fucking hate you. Like, I don't know. I don't know you. All right.
Right.
Coming up to me with sort of a wild look in your eye.
Ever since the Brian Smith situation, I feel like everyone like yourself.
Mike, it happened 2 weeks after I got attacked in the parking lot at Global. 2 weeks.
Like Monica Seles. It's
2 weeks later it happened. And I went, holy shit, like, you know. And the first thing I thought of was the person that attacked me. I wonder if the same person was in Ottawa and like shot Brian Smith. Oh my God. Was, you know, it's funny too, because I had only been on the air for a few years at Global. I think that was the late 80s. So, you know, I don't know. I'd been there 3-4 years maybe. And the show had, you know, really taken off, was very, very popular. And, you know, getting recognized in places that you never for a million years, like on vacation in Maine. Right. I was on vacation in Maine with my wife, my first wife. And like this guy like comes up to me in frickin' Bangor, Maine. I said, holy cow. I said, how do you know? He goes, oh, yeah, satellite. And I'm like, wow. And I'm a big hockey fan. You guys are great. The Hebsy Awards. I just freaked. I said, wow. Because I was not at that point, okay, around Toronto or somewhere in Ontario, maybe, but I was not used to being away out of what I thought was the television viewing range of the show at that time. And to be recognized through that was just freaked me right out.
I can imagine, buddy. I can imagine.
But the best story is this. We're in Bangor, Maine. It's a rainy day. There's nothing, can't do anything outside. And the local movie theater, whatever it is playing, I think it's Rocky 3 or Rocky 4, one of them. I forget now.
Probably 3.
I go into town, all right? I walk into this theater. There's 9 people in the theater. 9 people. I walk in, everybody turns around, looks at me, and they all start to burst out in applause. They're all clapping. I'm like, holy shit. Like they must be hockey fans. They recognize me from the show. I'm freaking out. This was the day after some guy had recognized me in Bangor, Maine. Right. Like, holy cow. And I sit down, you know, there's like a bunch of it. See, I sit down and I look, the guy looks at me and he nods, gives me kind of a thumbs up. And I go, I didn't think anybody would recognize me here. And he looks at me like, what are you talking about? I said, I just was amazed by the reception that I got here. I'm not used to that. I'm from Toronto. He goes, well, I don't know what I don't know what you're talking about. I said, the reason we're clapping is because the theater manager said he wouldn't start the movie till there were 10 people in the theater. That's are we ready to do the show?
Yeah, buddy. You start.
Hang on. A little jolt here.
Jolt Cola.
Oh, no, homemade.
Twice the sugar and
homemade Vietnamese coffee.
Wow, good.
Iced coffee. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Let's go.
All right, Hebsy, we're rocking and rolling in 5, 4.
The following podcast is brought to you by Crosswinds Golf and Country Club in Burlington. Just 45 minutes from downtown Toronto, depending on traffic, you'll find the most beautiful and affordable public golf course in Ontario. Or as they say, Ontario. Outstanding customer service, $1 million views, fabulous food and bevies, fully stocked pro shop, and a championship golf course that's always in beautiful condition. And if you book your tee time online, you save $10 per golfer. That's, I carry the two, $40 per foursome. Enough to have lunch at the Back Nine Bistro. So go to crosswindsgolf.com, book the tee time, save some dough, and when you get there, make sure you tell them Hebsy sent you. Now, Mike, let's start the podcast. Play La Bamba, baby. That didn't last, did it? Hey there, sports fans. Welcome to Hebsy on Sports, episode 288. I'm Mark Hebsher. That's Toronto Mike. And in about 30 minutes, we'll be joined by our special guest today. Actually, not our special guest. He's our guest today. Like a special guest would be if you had another guest, the guest and the special guest, and then you offend the guest. So why am I not a special guest? But anyway, Darren Pang's our guest, former goaltender, current NHL analyst on TNT, and he does St. Louis Blues games. And one of the guys, you know, you do the games with one team, and then the network calls and says, "Hey, we need you for the big game, the national game." And then he goes off and does that. Anyway, he's going to join us in about half an hour. And Mike, remind me to ask what he thinks of the end zone camera they use on power plays. ESPN uses it. I don't know if TNT does. I haven't because we can't watch their games, eh? Like we get Sportsnet. We get the Sportsnet coverage. So when I see people that have, you know, satellite dishes or Hulu or sticks or whatever they've got, and they go, "Oh, great TNT coverage," and "Oh, the panel's fabulous," and "Oh," But boy, those cutaway shots, or what are they doing cutting away to the bench? What are they cutting away to the bench while the game is going on? Like, who does that? Where's all the Canadian producers and stuff like that? Anyway, I want to ask Panger about that. Before that, we got some baseball to talk about as the Blue Jays visit the Motor City for a weekend series, looking to keep up with the Yankees and Tampa. And perhaps the debut of Gabriel Moreno. Meanwhile, folks are already talking about like 7 Blue Jays making the All-Star team. And maybe Vladdy not even one of them. 7? 2 for sure. Kirk for sure. Springer for sure. Gosman for sure. Right? Romano, pretty good too. There's 4 right there. Not Vladdy, though. Not this year. Not yet. Maybe. We'll get into the Canadian soccer fiasco if you want. And what the short-term effects might be and the long-term effects, even though Canada beat some country I couldn't pick out on a map last night if you just showed me the region, for crying out loud. And I'm interested in what you think about this new Live Golf Tour and whether or not you would take the Saudis' blood money and leave the PGA Tour if you got a nice offer. Mike, suppose you're a PGA player. You can make $1 million, a couple million a year. You could make maybe $4 million. You could make $5 million in a good 6 year, $1 million. You could make yourself a nice, $25-30 million in your career if you grind it out over, 20 years or so. Or you could take $100 million, $50 million, $70 million, set your family up for life on the Saudi tour.
I'm glad this is on the agenda because on your live stream, and those listening to the podcast should be reminded that every Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern, we're live on Hebsy's YouTube channel, and I do read the comments in real time. So Craig Miller there, he's just saying it was easy to pick us over the golf tour that's also on YouTube right now. He says, and he's looking forward to hearing your take on this.
Right. Well, my take's pretty simple. If somebody came up to me and said, look, you're a professional, you're not being paid nearly as much. You're not nearly as much value. You've given away your media rights by joining the PGA Tour. You've given them away. You know that. The PGA Tour owns all the rights, the video rights, the photo, whatever. For the players. The player can't go and play in some event or do something without permission from the PGA Tour for a release in order to do that. You've given that up. So now other guys are going, you know what? Bryson DeChambeau is going, you know what? $100 million. And, he says goodbye to Rocket Mortgage, which is his sponsor. DJ says goodbye to RBC, which is his sponsor. Guys. And I'm sorry, man, if I'm running the company, I'm like, I don't blame you. Yeah, would I say, oh, don't take the Saudis' blood money when I've been dealing with people, with nefarious backgrounds for governments that were, sponsoring arms to who knows? Really, are we delving into the government, the background of every single entity out there? Really? In this case, it's pretty obvious, too. And let's face it, when Greg Norman came along and said, they're or was it Mickelson said, oh, they're scary to deal with, right? They're scared to, like, what did they do? They held a gun to your head and said, take this $200 million. And let's face it, Mike, $200 million, 200, not 20 million, which would be okay as well. Which, Dustin Johnson, it took me how many years to make 20 million? A while, man.
No, it's a lot of money, but what about the ethical?
Yeah.
What about the ethical concerns? And you talk. You
well, tell me about the ethical. Tell me compared to other regimes, other businesses where like you're working for Amazon. Let's say you're working for somebody, or you're working for a big company, and there's been human rights violations. You send a team to China,
sure.
Right? You do all these things. Now we're not going to save the world, Mike. Golf fans are not going to save the world by going no. We must stop the Saudis right now. Man, somebody offers you that kind of money and it's legal. What you're doing is perfectly legal and above board.
Sure.
I don't know how many people could honestly say, no, thank you.
And that's a slippery slope because, like you said, we just had an Olympics in China. We have a World Cup coming up in Qatar. We
went to Russia for how many times?
We went to Russia
for the Olympics,
right.
and we knew
it was
what
illegal
going
to
on
be
there.
gay in Russia, and we were there.
Come
so
on.
You're right.
Come on. And look, I hate to say this too, but look, how many people dealt with the Nazis, right? For example. Now, I'm not going to suggest. Look, I'm not going to make any suggestion that this is worse than that this regime was worse than that regime. I mean, that's ludicrous. But the point is that in history, people have dealt with horrible people, right? Mm-hmm. Government sponsored, all kinds of money throwing at you. And most people, human nature is to go, yeah, okay. Especially if there happens to be, maybe there's some threats along the way saying, if you don't do this, and I don't know what's going on there either. I mean, if Mickelson says the Saudis are scary to deal with, is he suggesting that if Mickelson doesn't join the Saudi tour, like he said he would, that there was going to be problems there? Maybe there might be some, I don't know. But, I mean, well, you want to get into politics, look at some of the countries involved in the World Cup of Soccer. Look at some of the scandals that have gone on. What's worse? Cheating? Human rights violations? Man, I have to tell you something. If the sport is good and people want to watch it and want to get away from their everyday lives and just and not look at the person or people involved and going, oh, that person sides with that political party, or that person's known for human rights violations, or that person's treated women horribly, or that person was a convicted felon, a rapist. I mean, we could drive ourselves crazy.
It's a slippery slope. Absolutely. Bobby Orr endorsed Donald Trump. Like, It's like you could do this forever.
So ask me the question, okay? Would you do it? And my answer would be, I would. I would do it because if I had a family to raise and I'm a young person and I don't want to grind out 72 holes every week. Do you know that 48th place, Damian Cox pointed this out today on Twitter, 48th place at the Canadian Open is worth $24,000. 48th place at the Live Tour is $120,000. So we're talking about 6 times more money. Mike, if I said to you right now, okay, the people, the Germans that are running the company, okay, your company, the company that you're working for now, that's going to pay you 6 times what you're making now, they might be involved in some things that you might not be crazy about, that particular part of their business, but they're going to give you 6 times what you're making right now. And you got how many kids to raise?
4.
Okay. So what are you going to do? How deeply you're going to go into the background of the company that's paying you this money?
Your point's very valid, Mr. Hebsy. You're absolutely right. But I have a question. Would you watch? Now I'm curious if Hebsy...
I am watching. I've been watching.
You are watching.
Yeah. I've been watching. You know what? I kind of like it. I don't know most of the players, but a lot of times in the PGA Tour, I don't know most of the players either. You're dealing with 144 players at the Canadian Open. I mean, if you said to me, pick out Hudson Swafford or Wyndham, what's his name? I have no idea. And the same thing with a lot of the guys on in the Live Tour. By the way, you know what Live stands for, right?
Tell me.
Do you know your Roman numerals?
Oh, yeah. L is what's L? L's 50?
Do you know your Roman numerals?
I
L
know
is 50.
Point.
L is 50.
And then I is 1, and then 5. So that's that's 54.
That's right. And how many holes are they playing these tournaments on this Saudi tour?
18 times 4.
No. Well, that's the PGA Tour. That's the PGA Tour.
Tell me. Obviously, it's 54.
18 times 3. Right?
See, that's how little I paid attention.
They only play 3 rounds. So the LIV is actually Roman numerals. It's the 54 tour. But if you speak Roman numeral, it's the Live Tour.
Gotcha.
There you go. All right. We'll get into that a little later too with Panger, because he's a golfer. Mike, a lot of folks, including me, very irritated with all the betting ads and segments on television sports. It's because they're in the telecasts, I think. They're not a wraparound feature. They're not pregame and or postgame. It's right in the middle of the game, right in the middle of the
editorial. It's like camouflage.
And that's the problem. That's right. So I find some very good broadcasters. And again, if I was working there and they said, this is what you have to do, I go, I'm really not comfortable with this at all. I'm not. So some very good broadcasters are being forced to promote and discuss betting lines within the context of the game, as if it is, like you say, editorial content, when clearly they're not comfortable doing so because they know this isn't editorial content. This is the sponsor that's throwing money at you saying, we want you to talk about the betting odds. And some of the handoffs, Mike, are cringeworthy. I mean, Ron McLean throws to Ron McLean's just been discussing, the high stick, whatever, something that happened in the game with Bieksa, with Elliott, with Kelly Rudy. And now it's like, let's go to Cabby. And then all Cabby does is, hey, thanks, Ron. And then he throws to a sinister looking fellow who tells you that the New York Rangers are plus 105 and the over under on total goals is now 3.5 because it's a scoreless game and you've got two Russian goalies and they rarely give up more than 3.27 goals total in a game. And you should take the under. And you're in the first intermission. And I know it's a quick little hit, but these segments should not be running during the game telecast. I know you can bet during the game. I don't want to know what the odds are in the midst of now wait a second, but here's the big story, folks. Let's go to Cabby, who's got whoever, and I don't know these guys. They're not, it's not like it's Jimmy the Greek. Hey, this is the most famous, lines odds maker in Vegas. This is just a guy, again, not a journalist, not an entertainer, not a performer. Better they get Justin Bieber. Hey, Biebs, can you just read this? Read what it says. Okay, plus 105, over under 3.5, blah, blah, blah. Money line, blah, blah, blah. Back to you. Big graphic, too. That isn't up there long enough for anybody to decipher. And I know betting. I'm looking at the graphic going, wait a second. Minus 2,200 to win the game. They're already up 3-0. And then they take the graphic down because they got to go back to Ron. Right. So the sinister looking guy throws back to Cabby, who says, thanks very much, sinister looking guy. Back to you, Ron. And if Ron threw a pun in there or a joke, which he's been doing last night, it was a whole thing about.
He's been doing it for decades.
Whatever it is, it's like, I'm like, what was that segment there? What was it? Cheapens the entire production, but it pays the bills.
Hebsy, you said it right there, right? We just had a conversation 5 minutes ago where you said you would take the Saudi blood money, and you would play in the Live Tour or whatever we're calling it. It was same difference.
That's me personally. That's me personally for my family. What if I'm an anchor and they say you have to do this or you lose your job?
How can we judge Ron McLean?
I'm not judging Ron McLean. I'm saying Ron McLean. I'm sure Ron McLean doesn't like this, but it's part of his job now.
Right. He has. Yeah, it's part of his job now.
What's he going to say? Ron's going to go, oh, no, that's it. I'm walking out on it. No.
Okay.
But it's cringeworthy because as a broadcaster, this isn't something you should have to do. This is something that should be a separate, it should be, let me put it this way. Ron says, we'll be right back with Cabby. They go to commercial. They come up on Cabby on his own, cold.
Right.
Everybody, Cabby Richards here, Sportsnet Bets, whatever it's called, joining me, sinister looking guy, trying to grow a mustache here. What are the odds? The game is this, right? And then instead of throwing back to Ron McLean, that segment, fade to black, that's the segment. On its own. Like Coach's Corner was, right? On its own.
Standalone segment, not embedded, not baked into the
right. They didn't go when Don Cherry was finished. They didn't say, all right, let's go rinkside now to Scott O.
Did two commercial breaks.
Are you kidding me?
You remember they would do the ad break and then they'd be do-do-do, and they do the title and they do another fucking ad.
Pink Flamingos.
So, okay, but Hebsy man.
Yeah.
So obviously this is Rogers cashing checks as madly as they can because they're taking a bath on this NHL deal. So I saw an exchange between, I think, Paul Romanuk saying that Dave Hodge would never stand for this. Like, Dave Hodge would not do this, whereas Ron McLean has decided to save his job and do whatever he's told.
Yeah, you see, I have to look at the scenario. Who walked up to Dave Hodge or who said, in the Hockey Night in Canada production on CBC, by the way, we're running things, right? Not in the midst of $1 billion, whatever contract. Yeah. And who would have said, all right, we're going to change things around? How would this discussion have gone? Would they have said, Ron, let's talk about this. John Shannon, let's talk about this. Let's sit down and talk. Ralph Mellanby, whoever was involved, let's sit down and talk. CBC, head of CBC Sports, let's talk about this. How do we want to do this? How do we do it? At the time, remember, the CBC was getting all kinds of money anyway from the federal government. So ad revenue wasn't as big a deal. And they kept pointing, saying, that's the moneymaker on CBC. There they are right there. That's it. Hockey Night in Canada. That's what makes money. That's what we do here. But that's not their mandate. Their mandate is to serve the public. So now Rogers comes along and goes, wait, we can really make some dough here.
Right.
Like we can really do something. Let's spend all this money. Let's get these rights. Let's put this show together. Let's do it. And now they've reached the point, like you say, where it's like, and betting's everywhere, but all these betting sites, they knew. I mean, they're like sharks in the water sniffing blood. They knew that Rogers needed cash. They knew it. We need money. Look at what it cost us here. And remember, how many people have they cut over the years? How many high-profile broadcasters? They snip, chop, 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 chop. Whatever happened to Sportsnet's magazines? All those magazines.
Yeah. Gone.
So they need the dough. And now these companies who are flush are going, sure, come on. We'll pay you, but we got to have a betting segment. You guys are all going to talk about betting. We're going to get all these people who are unfun. Can you imagine Dan Shulman going, all right, here's the batter now is Alejandro Kirk. And by the way, before he swings at the first pitch, let me tell you that the Blue Jays are minus 2,200 to win the game because they're leading by a score of 4-0 against the Red Sox. And then an inning later, Shulman's got to go, and by the way, the Jays are only, minus 1,400 now because it's a 2-run game. So this is the way it's going to be, that you're going to get these big time broadcasters. You're going to get them to insert the betting lines and the, live betting odds going on. Hello, everybody. This is Dan Shulman from Rogers Center. We're ready for the 6th inning. And here's the field, right? Blue Jays plus 2,300. Vladdy Guerrero minus 2,700 to win a home run. No, come on. No. By the way, nice win for the Tampa Bay Lightning last night, eh? There's nothing worse than thinking, we could go to overtime here. We could win it in overtime. And then before overtime even happens, bang, they score near the end of regulation time. Twice in a row for the Lightning, they've done that. Just killed the Rangers late in regulation. Last night, Sergachev with the winner with like 2 minutes to go. And Tampa beats the Rangers 2-1 and now have a 3-2 series lead. And by the way, if you bet the under like I did, okay, you had a profitable night because the under was like 3.5. And the sinister looking guy on Sportsnet was going, bet the under. Look, it's scoreless after the first period, bet the under. And I did.
You're part of the problem, Hebsy.
You're right, I am. You're right.
I'm thinking Brian Gerstein, and I won't say the number again, but he revealed what he won last year. But
we don't want to talk about him. I don't want to talk about him. I don't want to talk about him. I want to talk about the fact that if he had a bet that Steven Stamkos, the number 1 overall pick in 2009, would punch out Alexis Lafreniere, the number 1 pick overall in 2020, that would have paid a fortune. That would have been some prop bet. You see that at the end of the game, Mike? They're punching Stammer. It's just Stammer hammer. He's pounding him in the head at the end of the game, like a brawl. Well, it wasn't fully brawl because everybody didn't drop the gloves, but Stammer and Lafreniere did. And I'm like, this is great. This is great. What were the odds of that happening? Tampa can eliminate the Rangers Saturday night and head to yet another Stanley Cup final against the hungry Colorado Avalanche this time. And it'll come down to goaltending because Vasilevsky is virtually unbeatable. And Shesterkin is pretty close to the same thing.
Now, Hebsy, am I right that the last time we had a three-peat was the Islanders in the early 80s?
Did the Oilers win 3 in a row?
No, I don't think so. I think Calgary interrupted the
Calgary interrupted the streak there. They had 3. Was it 3?
They did 2 in a row, and I think they did another 2 in a row, and then they had the outlier post-Gretzky or whatever. But I think that I know that Islanders won the 4 in a row before the Oilers.
After Montreal had won 4 in a row.
Yes, exactly. So this was quite the feat. We haven't seen this in a long time.
Yes, it could be, but they haven't gotten there just yet. And Colorado hungry, and we'll see what happens. Okay. By the way, did you hear about the Maple Leafs goaltending situation?
Tell me.
They don't have one. And by the way, because they don't have one, they parted ways with their goalie coach, Steve Briere, who'd been around since the James Reimer days.
Right.
He'd been around way back there with those guys.
I liked Reimer.
I did too. I think the Leafs screwed him around. But anyway, like the same way they screwed Jack Campbell's not going to sign with the Leafs.
Well, he unfairly carried the brunt for that collapse, that 4-1 collapse in
right.
Game 7. Right. But we needed to blow up that team anyway.
So goaltending's a big big issue with this team because we have no goalie.
Who needs a goalie, Hebsy?
We have no goalie, and we have no goalie coach to coach the goalie.
Maybe Panger can help out.
Maybe. Baseball. The Gabe Moreno era begins this weekend in Detroit. Forget about any other player on the Jays. Forget about the ball. Gabriel Moreno. Out of nowhere. Kind of like Alek Manoah. Like, who is this guy? He's played how many minor league games? Whoa. 22-year-old from Venezuela. Or as I heard a guy the other day say, Venezuela. That's a professional broadcaster. Venezuela. All right. Anyway, the Blue Jay star catching prospect has been recalled from Buffalo. And yet another blue chipper makes it to the show a lot earlier than expected. The injury to Danny Jansen necessitated the move, but it's hoped that Moreno makes an impression similar to that of Manoah when he first came up. Very little minor league experience, not a lot of fanfare, but a rapid rise through the system. Moreno hitting .324 at Buffalo and has been spectacular defensively. So Charlie will have him in the lineup on a regular basis. You can guarantee it, and Kirk will be the DH. Let's see how that works out. I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, remember, it wasn't that long ago you said Kirk would win a batting title.
Yeah. Yeah, when I first saw him hit, I remember same thing. Who had ever heard of this guy? Mike, no one. This guy Kirk was not on anyone's radar. Anyone's. Like, who is this guy? And then you see him hit and you go, wow. You look at his body and you go, come on, you got to be kidding me. But then you see him hit and he hits, he makes solid contact. He barrels up more than anyone I had seen, certainly at that age. I had not seen a young hitter and he hits the ball hard. So yeah, he's the type of a guy, I think when he hits it hard, and he's going to find holes. He's going to hit line drives. I love the way the guy hits.
But when you said that, there was a little blowback. People thought you might be losing your marbles, and
not the first time.
But here we are, and it's looking like quite the call.
Hasn't happened yet, and he doesn't have enough at bats to qualify. He did the other night, and then he was 6th in the American League in hitting. He had enough plate appearances to qualify, and then Charlie sits him out the next day, and they lose. Like, he sat out 3 of his best players, and I don't understand that.
But he'll catch up on at bats now. He'll qualify.
Well, that's just it. He has to play He has to play every day, because what happens is you have to average 3.1 plate appearances for every game that your team plays. Not every game that you play. Right. Every game your team plays. So the other night in his 4th at bat, he had enough to qualify, and I had to tweet. I tweet Dan Schulman, live tweet Dan Schulman to say, because he had said, no, he doesn't qualify. And I said, no, he just did, in his last at bat, because I had been following it, because you can't win a batting title unless you have enough at bats or plate appearances to qualify. Anyway. So the Jays have, the Yankees are around 7 games. Yankees up 7 on Tampa, 7.5 on the Jays, and Boston's another 4 games back. So all 3 teams, wildcard teams this year, will probably come from the American League East. All 3. It's going to be Tampa, Boston, and the Jays in whatever order there. That's going to be it. And by the way, how many Jays should be on the All-Star team this year? For sure, Springer in center field. For sure, Kirk behind the plate. For sure. But who else? Espinal, Vladdy, Bo, Teoscar, Jordan Romano, Gosman? Yeah. Wow. We'll see. Last night, the Yankees' Garrett Cole gave up home runs to the first 3 Minnesota batters. Garrett Cole. And then 5 home runs overall before being yanked after 2 1/3 as the Yankees took on Minnesota. And who won the game? Yankees. 10-7. They're 41-16 on the season. Yikes. Hear about White Sox manager Tony La Russa?
2 strikes and he intentionally walks or something? Tell me this story.
Yeah. Made the move yesterday that confounded even the most brilliant baseball minds. Down 7-5 in the 5th inning against the Dodgers, runner at second, and the count 1-2. The count was 1-2, and then there was a wild pitch. So Freddie Freeman went from first to second. So then Tony La Russa says, even with the count 1-2, let's walk Trey Turner and let's pitch to Max Muncy. Now, on the surface, you're going, all right, lefty matchup, blah, blah, blah. But still, the guy, he's got a 1-2 count on him, right? 1-2. And now you're going to intentionally walk the dude. And now Muncy is going, you're going to walk him with 2 strikes so you can face me, you motherfucker. You motherfucker. Like, he's pissed. Like, Max Muncy is pissed that Tony La Russa would show him up by walking a guy that's already got 2 strikes on him so he can get to Muncy. So what does Muncy do? 3-run home run, baby. And now La Russa looks like a real jerk. And then in the post-game press conference, naturally they say, what did you fucking do that for? To La Russa, basically. And he's like, did you see the numbers? Do you know what Turner was hitting with 2 strikes on him versus what Muncy was hitting against left-handed pitching? This is La Russa talking to the media. Right? The media's going, no one's ever seen an intentional walk with 2 strikes. No one. Nobody. But why'd you do it? Well, because Muncy was hitting 125 against lefty pitching, and Turner was hitting 258 with 2 strikes on him. See, but still,
it's all the algorithm now, right? The algorithm are coaching these games.
But the best was Muncy called La Russa a fucker, a motherfucker. Like, afterwards, he goes, "Have you on the field?" He's like, "You motherfucker! Like, you really embarrassed me there. Like, you intentionally walked a guy with 2 strikes to get to me, you motherfucker." Max Muncy, 3-run homer. I mean, I love the fact that I wish they could do that in other sports. I wish in other sports you could instantaneously make the guy look like the coach look like a complete idiot. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to walk him to get to me. Like, I don't, is there another sport where you can completely embarrass a player that way? Right? Like, you can ice a kicker in football and isolate the kicker, but really, What you're basically saying is, no, I don't want to pitch to him. I'd rather pitch to the guy on deck. Even if I'd rather pitch to Muncy.
Or maybe pulling a goalie, pulling Darren Pang maybe after he allows a third goal, like not giving him a chance to right the ship.
Unbelievable. Let's bring in our guest while we're on this subject, because it's true, man. This is like crazy stuff. And a real, I couldn't believe it. Nobody in baseball could. Our guest today is a former NHL goaltender. He would have won multiple Stanley Cups with the Chicago Blackhawks, but he got injured in the prime of his career. And a guy named Belfour ended up carrying the mail for a while. However, things turned out okay for this fella, as he turned out to be a very successful broadcaster, doing NHL games on ESPN and ABC for 13 years, and here in Canada on TSN. And now he does Stanley Cup coverage on TNT. And he's the voice of the St. Louis Blues, along with our buddy John Kelly. Let's welcome Darren Pang. How's that for an intro?
That goes back to the old junior days, I think, Hebsy. It's been a long time. How you doing?
I'm great. The Nepean Raiders days? Is that what you're talking about?
Nepean Raiders, Belleville Bulls, 67s, right?
That's right, the Belleville Bulls. Right? Oh, that's right. You won a Memorial Cup with the 67s.
That's right. Didn't we have the game of the week as well on way back in the day was that on Global back in the day?
I don't know, man. You're older than me, aren't you?
I think so, because I can see so. Jim Ralph was like.
By the way, say hi to Toronto Mike, Darren Pang.
Hey, Toronto Mike, nice hairdo. You calling that with a ham sandwich or something? Gym bag?
I like this guy already. Can I call you Panger?
You got it, buddy. You can call
me
Panger.
Nice to meet you, buddy.
Nice to meet you.
Oh my God. Is it true that had you not been injured, that Belfour would have never had a chance of making the number one spot?
That's debatable.
Well, you took on a few different goalies, didn't you, in Chicago? When you were with the Blackhawks, there were a couple guys trying to get your job, huh?
I would say that. Like, when I was already under contract with them for 3 years, and I'd played in Milwaukee. I got recalled to the Blackhawks in '85 for one game, and then the playoffs. And then I went Saginaw, Halifax. And then I got recalled for the playoffs again. And I went back to Halifax and played in the playoffs before allowing Mike Keene's first professional goal in double overtime. But that's another story. So I'm going into my fourth year, just got married. And the Blackhawks signed Eddie Belfour from North Dakota. They had drafted Jimmy Waite 8th overall. And they also signed Bob Mason from the Washington Capitals after that triple overtime game that he lost to LaFontaine and the Islanders. Right. So I come into camp and I was kind of at a crossroads, but they signed me to another 3-year deal. And so I was going to make a whopping $40,000 in the minors. So I was pretty excited about that raise I got from 22.5. So, but as it turns out, I ended up playing almost 50 games that year. And I had a goalie coach named Wayne Thomas that really went to bat for me. He just simply told him that Eddie Belfour just wasn't ready yet. Wayne used to put us all through these drills. It was X drill, Y drill, Z drill, U drill, everything to know your net, small shuffles, large shuffles, T pushes. And Eddie just wasn't quite ready yet. Like, he was good out of college, but he'd be the first to tell you, and we've talked about this an awful lot. He slammed his stick over the crossbar and he said, how did he say it? He said, "Where the hell did this guy come from? Who is this guy?" Because he was getting so frustrated about the way he was teaching him, all these drills that we did. And anyway, so Eddie was going to be really good, but nobody knew how long that was going to take. In fact, I think in '88 during the Olympics in Calgary, the Blackhawks sent him to the Olympic program. And at that time, if you got sent to the Olympic program, you weren't trending very well in the pros. And so it was a disappointing thing for most of the players at that particular time. And so it took him years. Like, that was 88, 89, 90. I retired in 90. I couldn't pass the physical after I hurt my knee twice.
What happened with the knee?
I got hurt in the 89 conference finals, Hawks against the Calgary Flames. Wayne Van Dorp, we were doing a drill in practice, and Mike Keenan wanted the players to drive hard to the net, which is a simple term, right? We all want to drive hard to the net for the playoffs, but not in practice. So anyway, I made a save. The rebound was there, and Wayne Van Dorp lost his footing, and he just crashed right into me, and I tore my left ACL. And so I rehabbed it, went down to the minors the next year. It took me a while to get back, and hurt it again training, and so I couldn't pass the physical. But anyway, I'm sitting in the stands with we just hired Vladislav Tretiak to be the goalie coach.
Yeah.
So So Mike Keenan, he says, "Hey, listen, can you take Vladdy for lunch?" And I said, sure. This has been an unbelievable experience. Like, I'm debating whether or not I'm going to play again or continue with my knee. and I'm sitting in the stands with Vladislav Tretiak. So he says, go take him for lunch. I said, great, hand me the cabbage. So he gives me $100 bill. Oh, Mike had the short arms there. He was a little cheap on that, but he gave me $100. And I watched Vladdy suck back about, I don't know, maybe about 8 beers, big, strong lad that he is. And then he went back to the rink and we sat in the stands and watched the rest of practice. And after I'm watching, he says to me in his very, very broken Russian, trying to speak English, and he was trying his darndest. He says, Dominik Hasek. And I'm watching Dominik Hasek on the ice. And I said, Vladdy, I don't understand how they can't score on this guy. He's flopping all over the place. There's no method. And he says, Dominik Hasek. So here I am. I got Eddie Belfour. I got Dominik Hasek. I got Jimmy Waite. And I've got
Bob Mason.
No, Mace, we traded. We traded to Quebec Nordiques for Mike Eagles and maybe Michel Goulet or somebody. So we, anyway, it was an easy decision. I retired. I got right into broadcasting. I was already doing CCHA college games. And anyway, so Kelly Chase, you guys know Chaser. One of the funniest guys ever. And I saw a picture of him fighting Wayne Van Dorp. And I said, Chaser, that guy ended my career. Without batting an eye, Chaser goes, he says, don't kid yourself. He started your career. What you had before wasn't a career. What you have now is a career. I always laugh at that saying.
That's a good one. That's right.
Yeah.
We're not for Wayne Van Dorp, you'd still be in the minors.
Never
probably
know.
Trying to.
It probably would be. I would have never given it up. I loved it too much. You're right.
And one of the great Hebsy awards I have is Wayne Van Dorp, 23, in white at Chicago Stadium with a perfect knee to the groin of Bob Airy of Pittsburgh. I mean, it was beautiful. It was like a wrestling heel. Right, with the referee turn, and he into the turnbuckle with a knee right to the groin. One of the great Hebsy awards. And now I know that Wayne Van Dorp is also responsible for your fabulous career. So, so you're in St. Louis now. I love St. Louis. I loved St. Louis always as a hockey town. What's it like being part of the St. Louis? Because the St. Louis Blues fans are so rabid. I mean, the sports fans in St. Louis are, but what's it like living there, working there, being part of the Blues organization? Not being part of, but being a broadcaster with. Yeah.
Well, you know what, Hebsy, it was a real, I thought it was a leap of faith that both John Davidson, he was then the president. Doug Armstrong was just starting out as the, I think he was maybe a senior advisor to Larry Plow at the time. And I remember saying to JD, I said, I'm not sure if this fits, JD. Like I didn't play for the St. Louis Blues, and the only team I played for was the Chicago Blackhawks. They both hate each other. The fans hate each other. I said, I don't know how you think this is going to work. And then JD had another good line. He says, you weren't that good anyway. He says, you weren't that good as a player anyway. They remember the Belfours and the Bannermans. He says, you're a broadcaster. They'll love you as a broadcaster. Why don't we take a ride at this and see how it works? And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. So, I mean, now being a part of it was and is spectacular. My daughter ended up going to the University of Missouri. My son left a golf scholarship in New Jersey with the Peacocks, the St. Peter's Peacocks, the team that went to the Final 16 in basketball. He came back to St. Louis, and they just loved it. My daughter now has 2 kids that live in St. Louis in the suburbs, and goes to the hockey games, and being a part of the charm of St. Louis has been spectacular. And you're right about the fans though, Hebsy. There's something very unique about them. There are some certain cities where you'd be at a restaurant with your family and fans just feel like, I guess they're part of you. So they'll sit down and take up, half an hour of your time and not even understanding what they're doing when you're trying to have a little private time with your family. I go to St. Louis and they're incredible. Like, nobody says a word to you, and they just let you do your stuff. And then when you leave, they'll say, hey, listen, hey, Pang, I really enjoy the broadcast. And they'll shake your hand, or really enjoy, great that you love St. Louis, and it's like, I see why the athletes, end up retiring there in St. Louis. We've got over 65 Blues alumni and NHL alumni that live there. You see baseball players and football players. And so anyway, I call it it is a small city. It's easy to get around, and there's some great Midwestern values to raising your kids and to being there in St. Louis. And yes, they love their sports, Hebsy. They sure do.
Toronto Mike is on the Mount Rushmore of Canadian podcasters. He has a tremendous podcast and asks very probing questions. So I'm going to turn it over to him right now, because you and I mean, we knew each other before. There's certain friendliness there, kind of thing. But Mike's more the I don't know who you are, buddy, but I got some questions for you. So.
You got it. Go ahead there, Mike. I'll first time caller. I'll take.
I was gonna say long time fan, first time caller to Panger here. Okay, couple of things. One is I have a memory of you having like a rookie of the year campaign, which was something to the effect of Pang is easier to spell than Nieuwendyk. Am I remembering this correctly?
That is correct. I don't have any more of the t-shirts for you, Mike. Otherwise, I'd send them to you. But I had a producer in actually with so many females being more and more prominent and getting more and more of an opportunity. We had someone in Chicago. Her name was Lisa Seltzer, still is Lisa Seltzer. And she was the producer and director for Pat Foley and Dale Talon all those years. So a female in the truck and producing and directing was spectacular. So anyway, I speak very highly of her because I love her to death. And she was the one that producing the game said, you know what, I got an idea. And she said, Joe Nieuwendyk's going to win it. But why don't we have some fun with this? We'll sell the t-shirts. We'll give them to charity and we'll play it up. So yeah, so I had to record. So I think we were in Winnipeg and she pulled me out of the locker room. She goes, come on, we got 10 minutes. You got to record this. So, and the whole thing was, we did the whole thing. Well, Pang, easier to spell than Nieuwendyk. Nieuwendyk, N-O-W.
Yeah, no one knows. No, I don't think even Joe knows, but I will tell you, it left an impression on me. Like I still remember it this many years later. I remember that campaign. It's wild how that works. And Panger, one more before Hebsy takes back the mic here. Okay, I recently was on a Zoom with Alan Bester, so we were talking, and I don't know who's taller, you or Alan. Who's taller?
Al's taller than I am. Yeah,
okay.
I think Al's 5'7", and I'm 5. I'm on just a shade under 5'5" officially. So, I'm 5'4.5". Yeah.
So obviously in 2022, no one's given you a sniff because you're undersized, right? Like, so when did this change? Like, when? No, like just seriously,
that's right.
You can't change your height. Trust me, I'm only 5'9". If I could change my height, I'd do it, but I can't. So Panger, when did this change where you had to be, 6'2" or taller to get a sniff as a goaltender in the NHL?
That's a really good question because boy, it changed in a hurry. Nowadays, I would be somebody they'd want to. I'd be the defenseman. And, the Darian Hatchers or the Chris Prongers, they're the ones that would be the goaltenders. So,
right.
But make no mistake, you can't win with small defensemen. You got to win with big defensemen, big, strong guys that can box out. Maybe one small guy per team. That's probably about it. But for the goaltenders, I don't know. I think Hexy was 87. Garth Snow came in with those big shoulder pads. Goalies got bigger, but a lot of them, though, it wasn't working out. If you remember, like you still had to stop the puck. I mean, right. So, the trials, they were there and all these big guys were in the net and they're like, I love that big guy. He's so big and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that big guy can't stop anything. Like
Roman Cechmanek.
Yeah. Well, there's a good example. Like
huge pads couldn't stop a beach ball.
Yeah, I think you still have to have hockey sense. I mean, you still have to have the ability. You mentioned Al Bester. I mean, he was a good athlete. He saw the play develop in front of him. Mike Vernon was one of my favorites, and Mike was probably 5'8", maybe 5'9". Right. And I don't understand why he's not in the Hall of Fame. If I don't mind pushing that, because I mean, the guy was just a gamer, and smaller. A lot of us really looked up to a guy like Mike. So. Then maybe Barrasso came in. I think he was maybe 6'3" or 6'4", and he combined some great athleticism, puck handling. He might have been the first guy that I played against that I kind of not intimidated by, but thinking to myself, man, that guy covers a lot of net and he's athletic and he plays the puck. He was good. You're darn right, he was good.
I love listening to Ted Darling do the late Ted Darling when he did Buffalo Sabres game in Barrasso for Barrasso. The name was good. Nothing wrong with Pang. It's quick.
Yeah.
Like, Pang,
it was almost like Pat Foley with Bannerman. Like
Skorodensky was better.
Oh yeah,
but Bannerman. It was a Bannerman, right? Because remember, we used to get all those games when you were playing junior Panger. We would get all those games on Sportsline, right? We would get the feeds in from Sports Channel America.
That's
or
right.
TV 30 or TV 38 in those days, whatever it was. And we would have the highlights on Sportsline, and all the other stations would have the background sound of the announcer with us doing that. But I would put music on it. I would strip Pat Foley's voice off it, and we'd put music, because when you'd heard Foley call it, right, you may as well have run it as a sound up. He was great, and Bannerman, Skorodinsky. It was like that. And then who was the PA announcer there that sounded like a Harvey? What was his name?
Yes,
Harvey,
yeah.
And he was like
Harvey, yeah.
Blackhawk goal scorer by number 40, Darren Pang.
That's right.
This by number 3, Steve Conroy. And number 8, Kurt Fraser. Whatever. Terry Ruskowski, number 8, Terry Ruskowski. Time of the goal, 13:42.
I think Ruskowski was traded for
Kurt Fraser. No, was it? Couple of 8s?
No, it was that kid. It was the first rounder from the Oshawa Generals. Good goal scorer, Tony Tanny.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a
the
good one.
Pretty sure.
That's the Maltese Falcon, right?
That's the one. He's the one. Now, Panger, I notice over your left shoulder you've got golf going on there, and I know that because we spoke to Tim Peel a while ago. You guys are golfers, and I played golf the other day. A beautiful golf course.
I'm actually at the lake. I'm at my lake in Michigan. There you go.
Nice. Oh, I'm going to be in Michigan next week.
There you go.
We're going to see. Look at that. We're going to go see Tears for Fears.
Wow.
We're playing golf we're playing golf with Ken Daniels.
Oh, nice.
And we're going to go see the Tigers and the White Sox at Comerica. Yeah, that's our little road trip. Yeah, that's our little road trip. So listen, this live golf tour, which by the way is live is Roman numerals for 54. It's a 54 golf tour. I'm interested in your opinion on this. We discussed it at the beginning of the show. If you're playing on the PGA Tour and you've got to grind out 72 holes and make a cut and that type of thing, and someone comes up to you and says, look, we're a terrible regime. We violate human rights, but we're paying $200 million out to Phil and $150 million out to DJ. And today $100 million for Bryson DeChambeau and more money. And we want to give you $40 million. What are you going to do?
Oh my goodness. Is it a real strong moral issue?
Well, that depends on who you're talking to. It's your life, but it's your life. It's your life. It's your family. It's your.
I'm an independent, and I am an independent contractor. At the end of the day, I mean that's what I am. Like, if Liv called me and said we want you to broadcast golf, and I've got a 3-year deal, and you're going to make $7 million a year to broadcast. I mean, come on.
But you know, what if they say to you? What if they say, but we need you to do some promotion for the Saudi government? You know,
well, that's a no.
We need these.
No, that's a negative for me.
Okay, how about this? There are certain talking points, Panger, that we need you to cover whenever you're talking to the media. You okay with that? We want to grow the game, stuff like that. Like, nice generic stuff that takes away from the horrible regime and the human rights violations. So we need you, if you're going to be doing part of the broadcast, people need to know that we're paying you and we expect you to say these things.
I would think that, and every country has some ghosts in the closet. I mean, there's a lot of stuff goes on, behind the scenes and all over the place, as we well know. But I watched, I did watch, I think it was Graham McDowell that did that. Is that, so he had to go on, he's trying to promote, it's a 54 hole event. He's promoting, come on out and watch the guys. And here's what it is. And here's the golf course Centurion and whatever. I mean, I think you stick to the basics like that. I don't think it would be very difficult to get behind that, because you are, they are independent contractors. Somebody is going to pay them. If they don't pay them, somebody else may pay them.
The other thing is,
I got a hard. I got
as well as I do that if it wasn't for Tiger Woods, we probably wouldn't be having these discussions anyway. Tiger Woods is the most underpaid athlete in the history of the world.
That's right.
I think that everyone who made money off Tiger Woods' back should kick up to him. And because of that, I think that this live golf tour is very real, because people are going, you know what? I should be making more money. all these PGA Tour pros, they gave away their rights as soon as they joined the tour. Yeah. All the independent rights, they got to get permission from the tour now for their likeness, all that stuff. Whereas on this tour, you don't have to worry about that at all. And I think that, even though the PGA Tour has got a great pension plan and all that type of thing, it's going to be difficult when you're waiving that kind of money. The same way it was in the WHA 50 years ago when they went, hey, Bobby Hull, here's $1 million. When $1 million then was like, I don't know, 100 million today. I don't know. Relatively speaking, it was like $1 million. Well, eventually that worked out okay because the NHL absorbed 4 WHA franchises. Yeah. But the problems that people went through with, I mean, if nobody comes out to see these live tournaments, if like there's no crowds, right? Then what? I think it's a lost leader for the Saudis. I don't think they expect any return on investment when it comes to golf at all. I think it's all goodwill, and you're getting the Phil Mickelsons and the Greg Normans and the Bryson DeChambeaus to go out and tour the world.
They're printing money.
And yeah,
they're printing money.
They got so much money. It's a drop in the bucket for them.
Like so a guy like, let's say DJ, and that direct deposit, from what I understand, I mean, there was no question mark.
It's there.
No, hey, where is it? It was there.
It was there. 150 million. He turns around to Paulina and he says, "Sweetheart, the 150 million is in our account. What do you need? What do we? Yeah. Our life has just changed,
and a private jet, and Anyway, yeah. So
she says to him, "You mean no more grind? You mean no more? We're here this week. The following week, we're at the John Deere. We're at the Winter Classic. We're at Kapalua. None of that." And he goes, "No. 6 events this year. Yeah, maybe 8 next.
It pays for the gas in his 100-foot yacht. I think he'll be okay with that. They probably paid for the gas too. So I think he's maybe got a lifetime gas membership.
Crazy. I'm here in Canada, we're not getting the coverage we should get, I think, from the Canadian Open. I think there's this sort of like the timing of this was like, wait a second, DJ is RBC. RBC is the title sponsor. DJ and Graham McDowell, both RBC guys, quit the tour, gave up their sponsorship, said bye-bye, left RBC in a lurch. Now you got a Canadian Open going on here. Just like if I would have said to you, golf would be on everyone's mind, and the amount of money, and it had nothing to do really with Tiger Woods, even though they offered him apparently $750 million. I could not have imagined this. Honest to God, this is it's great for sports.
Yeah, this is a real kick in the pants, and for all the efforts that the RBC puts into it, that Golf Canada does. I watch the Canadian Open all the time. It's like a major, certainly for me, thinking about the Canadian Open, and it's on the background there. I've been watching it for the last couple of days, and St. George's is my goodness, that's just it's an iconic golf course. It's just a classic. You put that anywhere in the world, and it'd be a top country club, top golf course that everybody would want to play. So, I'm DJ. It had to be painful for DJ, because I think just knowing Wayne as well as I know Wayne, that DJ comes from a small town. He's a small-minded guy. He's got a big heart. He's one of these guys, and I think that relationship with RBC is something that he greatly appreciated, but he got forced the hand. Here's the tournament we're starting. You can't play in that one. The timing was just terrible for it. Just terrible for it. It would have been a lot better if the Live Golf was 2 weeks from now or 1 week earlier, and he would be able to fulfill this obligation and shake hands and do it the way you're supposed to do it. But instead it turns out this way.
But then I might have even been worse. It was like, DJ, you're there, you're representing. Like, he wouldn't, like, this is all hypothetical, obviously, but that might have been even worse. The fact that in February he said, I'm committed to RBC, I'm committed to the PGA Tour, that was sort of enough for people to go, wait a second, you said this in February. What did they do? Wave 150 million? And he went, yeah. And I think the CEO, the president of RBC would, grudgingly go, I might have done the same thing. And so I can't blame. Can you really blame Dustin Johnson? Like, it's easy for us to go, oh, what's the difference between 20 million and 150 million? A lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And not one of us would say categorically that we wouldn't do that we wouldn't have the stomach to do that we wouldn't take the money because morally we wouldn't, we would regret it.
Yeah. I think, did you listen to Justin Thompson yesterday? Hebsy?
Justin Thomas. Yeah. JT. Yep.
JT was great, wasn't he?
Well, listen, I think he put it into perspective.
They're all friends. It's not like they're not going to be friends. One guy decided to go there and take a boatload of money, and one guy decided to stay and represent the tour, and
right.
I thought he answered it really well anyway.
He did. And here's the other thing too, is Scotty Scheffler, Masters champion. Yeah. What did he make? 2.7 million to win the Masters. 2.7 million. And if he joins this Live Tour, it's 4.4 million to the winner. It's 100 million guaranteed. It's whatever. Now, Scotty Scheffler, I'm sure would love to be world number one, which he is, and to, win all these majors, of course, as well. But at the end of the day, does he look and say, well, this is enough money for me. I'm fine with this. And I don't mind grinding out 72 holes or not having to grind if I'm winning major championships. But am I carrying all these other golfers, these other 124 golfers? Am I carrying them because people are coming out to see me? And that's where I think that if you or I were in that position and say, wait a second, I'm the one, people are coming to watch me. TV cameras are focused on me, not this guy here how did he qualify for the tournament? Or, you look at a leaderboard and you go, I don't know who some of these guys are. So I agree that I think if you're an independent contractor and you're really good at something in your field and you feel as if you're carrying others, all right, that they're making money off your back, that's a very powerful ego kind of thing, especially I think for men to go, wait a minute, like, why am I paying? Why is my sweat and blood and guts helping this guy here? What about me?
Well, they did it for when Arnie's Army and Army's got the jet and Arnie was getting commercials. Everybody was piggybacking off him. Then Jack Nicklaus, they're piggybacking off him. Now Tiger Woods, they piggybacked off him. In the NHL, it was Bobby Orr, Gordie Howe, Wayne Gretzky, and everybody got rich because of those guys because they raised the bar. And I mean, Scotty Scheffler or anybody else, what would you rather have? You major championships. You got a green jacket.
That's great. He's got a green. It's great. But how about not having a green
he's
jacket
a Masters
and 150
champion
million
forever? Yeah, I mean, and I get it, and it's easy for everybody to say that, but it's difficult. But I think when you grow up, all I want to do is win the Stanley Cup. That's all I ever wanted was the Stanley Cup. Maybe a Vezina trophy too, and the Stanley Cup. But anyway, these guys grow up and they want to be major champions. That's what it's all about. It's about that. Not going a 54-hole tournament. That's 54-hole tournament with no cut. I don't know where the drive's going to be.
But if you've already won a major, Panger, if you've already won the major, you won your Masters, and you say, and I don't know, I've never played at the high level, but once you've won 4 Stanley Cups, is that fifth one? Like, I gotta have that one?
Yep.
Or if someone says, hey, look, you cannot have the fifth, but we'll give you this much money. You've already won 4. You've done it already. You've been there, done it. The other thing I always thought this is someone say, here comes the defending champion. This was a 4-time or a 2-time, whatever champion. And let's say you go out there and you're horrible. Like you have a bad day. And they go, defending Masters champion. There he is, Masters champion, Darren Pang.
That's right.
91. Whereas you could do that on this live tour. And it's like, it's okay. It's all right. So you were 5 over. Big deal. Here's your 150 million. Like that, at the end of the day, you got the money in the bank. You can enjoy your life and you don't have to grind. And I mean, if someone said to you when you were 15, look, you can have all this, all of it. Right? And then you would say, that's what I'm dreaming of. Oh, yeah, I'd like to win the Masters, but I'd rather have Darren Pang's dog.
Watch this. Hold on a second.
Bring him. Who is it?
Here's why Bruce is barking. Look at
this is what I love about a podcast is
look at the swans.
Oh, look at that. It's beautiful.
Beautiful swans. Watch
where
this.
In Michigan? Where is that? Upper Peninsula? Where are you?
No.
No, general area. Look at that. Look at that.
Attaboy, Brucey.
So Brucey, Darren's dog is barking at swans out on the lake.
He's named after Bruce Springsteen. Look at him go.
I love it.
He's born to run.
Fabulous. All right, listen, we're gonna let you go because you got the dogs.
I'll answer your question. I'm in Highland Township, Michigan, which is very centrally located east of Ann Arbor, south of Howell or Fenton.
Nice.
Bloomfield Hills is about 45 minutes away. Just a little private lake, and then I got some toughness on my way. Joey Kosher's on this this lake, and Wayne Presley, my old teammate in Chicago. Yeah, so I got Elvis and I got Papa Kosher, so I'm well protected here.
Beautiful. And you're playing a lot of golf?
Playing a lot of golf. Yep. Me and Joey are on the box at 1:30 again today. Yeah.
Beautiful. Panger, it was great. Great getting back together again. And it's been a long time. And listen, enjoy. Is TNT covering the Stanley Cup final?
Not this year. We went to the conference final. Next year we have the final, and then it'll alternate, rotate. Excuse me. And TNT has been phenomenal, by the way. I don't get to see it in Canada, so I don't know. Man. I've only seen some clips and all that, but I hear it's going great. A lot of different networks I've worked for. These guys are absolutely 100% first class all the way, and create camaraderie, have fun. Being with Wayne in Edmonton and seeing him and talking, and all the boys and coffee was there, and just he just brings people together. That's what they wanted, and that's what they're certainly getting. I'm lucky to be part of it.
Beautiful. Panger, always a pleasure. That's Darren Pang from the NHL on TNT and the St. Louis Blues. Oh, please, regards to John Kelly from me, okay, my buddy.
He's awesome. He's one of the best in the business right there.
I worked with his father, who was a legend. Dan Kelly was a legend.
Absolutely.
Fantastic stuff. All right, Darren Pang, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, buddy. See you.
Nice to meet you, Panger.
You too, pal. Comb that hair.
Good stuff. And now from Darren Pang, let's talk about the what do we call the clusterfuck that is Canada soccer. Mike, we got to get into this.
Okay.
We got to get into this because last night, Canada played Curacao. Now, the game wasn't on TV. I couldn't find it anywhere. And then I realized, oh, that's right. It's subscription because Canada Soccer did some business deal with some bunch of people. And they basically gave away the rights, gave it away to One Soccer, which is a subscription service in Canada. And the game's not on Sportsnet or TSN or CBC or CBC Gem or anything like that. It cost you money. You had to pay to see it. And I just think that's wrong. But anyway, so they won 4-0 against Curacao. And the question is, Mike, where is Curacao? What would be the nearest country to Curacao? And what do you know anything about Curacao?
No, I would guess it's Central America. Where are we?
No, it's not.
South America?
No.
Where is it?
It's in the Caribbean or the Caribbean. It's actually it's closest to Aruba.
Okay.
And Venezuela. So that is South America. It's off the coast of South America, but it's part of the Caribbean.
That's close.
But did you know that it used to be called the Dutch Antilles up until, 20 or so years ago? So Curacao is like a new name for a country. Right?
I do know about the Dutch Antilles, so now I know that's this.
Them.
It's not Istanbul, it's Constantinople.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So anyway, couldn't watch the game on Sportsnet, couldn't watch it on TSN, couldn't watch it on the Food Network, nowhere. You had to get a subscription.
Should be on the Food Network.
Bullshit. It's all bullshit. You got to come on. You want to grow soccer?
Capitalism. It's capitalism.
This was the problem we had. This is the team that decided they weren't going to play after a game was canceled against Iran, which was a dumb idea anyway, and then another game against Panama, we're not going to play. What do you mean you haven't negotiated your deal? What do you mean you're holding out for more money? What the fuck is going on? What's this press conference? Who the fuck are these guys? What the fuck is going on? You did what? You sold away your rights? The game? What? This is for a World Cup bound squad. This took the wind out of the sails of any momentum that they had. And to cancel 2 games, to have people buy tickets, travel, get hotel, go to the game, the lack of communication, staggering. Okay. And the goodwill that has developed among the fan base, which embraced this World Cup bound squad. Think about screaming and cheering a game in the snow in Edmonton against Mexico, playing the US, all of this great stuff. Alphonso Davies is back. None of this bullshit. So they're going to have a game against Curacao, and I don't know, there's some other game somewhere. I don't even know if they announced anything. Meanwhile, the teams that they're going to play in the World Cup in their group, like teams like Belgium, all right, and Morocco, and Croatia. These teams are already out there playing friendlies and whatever. They're out there. They're training. They're playing games. Our guys are playing Curacao. Fucking me, Mike, and nine of his neighbors could go out there and probably lose 4-0 to Canada. Well, that's not true. Anyway, but still, I'm pissed off.
44-0.
So no interest in me and that and Curacao, and who cares? And I want to see some real soccer. It's like a country that's got some good players. Because if not, when we go to the, in November, when we play these teams in the group stage, we're going to get our asses kicked. Got to get some competition in there.
Right.
Game 4 between the Celtics and Warriors tonight in Boston, the NBA final. Celtics lead 2-1. Steph Curry is a game time decision for the Warriors. Mike, the NBA playoffs have been boring this year compared to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Really no drama at all. Eh? No big names. I'm not saying no big names because Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are big names and that, but
you're kind of bored of those big names. I feel
no LeBron and no Joel Embiid and no James Harden, I guess.
The freak.
Yeah, Greek freak. That's right. So, ho-hum. Okay. What else did I want to what the heck else was there? There was one other thing I wanted to discuss before we said goodbye. Mike, what the heck was it?
Just that by the time you got me all excited about Los Lobos being the official,
right,
their version of La
Bamba.
La Bamba being the official anthem now of the Edmonton Oilers. by the time you made me aware of this, Edmonton didn't win another home
I
game.
know they got
And my
swept.
wife jumped on the bandwagon of the Oilers in that third round because she's from Edmonton and her family and friends are all excited. So I watched the game 3 and 4 in Edmonton. I watched every minute of these games with Monica, and I told her the story, and she got excited. Like,
Yeah, we're hoping that
Bamba,
you
baby.
can play it. I know.
No La Bamba was to be heard.
I know. And Steve Berlin of Los Lobos said to me, he said, I was a jinx. I said, no, it's got nothing to do with you. He goes, a jinx. We're never going to hear it again.
And you see what I wrote? I wanted people to know that you're the reason Los Lobos is aware of this. It's you.
Well,
yeah, it's you. They would have found out anyway, but you told Steve Berlin about that.
Right. And then as soon as I told them, they didn't win another game. The song was never heard again. And the other thing is you couldn't play it. Like you couldn't play it on the off days. It was strictly it was like home, the victory song.
It's home after a home game victory.
No, I think it was after any victory because they would play it in their locker room as well. But in Edmonton, of course, they play it on the on the PA system and stuff like that. Right.
So now, so do you think Tampa Bay gets by the Rangers? I'm kind of interested in this.
Oh yeah. They killed them tomorrow night. Yeah, they win it all. They win. They beat the Rangers tomorrow. And there's no way they're going to lose a game. They're not going to go back for a game 7 in New York. They'll win it at home. They'll beat the
Tampa Bay and Colorado. Sounds like a great
Colorado.
series.
Well, I picked Colorado to win the Stanley Cup. I got 4-1 odds. I made a big bet on Bodog. You know that.
Good
already. I told you that long time.
Good for you. I'll be rooting for them. I'm tired of the Lightning winning this cup. Let's share the wealth here.
Right. All right. Before we go, I got to mention the disappointing coverage of the Canadian Open at St. George's on TV yesterday. I was really disappointed that TSN didn't show anything until 3 p.m. and they're not showing anything today until 3 p.m. There's no coverage until 3 p.m. All right. You want to grow the game, blah, blah. I'm not sure you can grow the game of golf anymore now. That's another thing. I don't know. I think it might have reached its peak of growth now. But in the meantime, how can there's no Canadian network nowhere that's going to show us? It doesn't have to be hole by hole coverage, but something, nothing. Yesterday, the Golf Channel had it on all day.
Yeah.
And all these Golf Channel commentators are from the States. They don't know fuck all about Canada. And all they do is they make hockey references, right? Guy sinks a long putt. He scores. It's a goal. He raises his putter like a hockey player raises his stick.
It's the low-hanging fruit, right?
Oh my God. And then on the 16th hole, they've got what amounts to boards, like hockey boards surrounding the tee box, right? So that people like, and the tee markers, the tee blocks are hockey masks, right? So it's like we're encouraging them with this hockey theme, and all of the marshals are wearing referees striped jerseys, but still no Canadian angle. I didn't see Bob Weeks and James Duthie and Graham Dillette for like hours yesterday. Hours. Okay. Normally they'll do cut-ins saying, here's how Mackenzie Hughes did. Here's some Corey Connor shots. Fucking nothing. I was embarrassed. All they talked about was Roger Sloan's orange pants because luckily for them, Sloan was playing while it was being broadcast by the Golf Channel. No Canadian content. Fucking awful.
Well, Hebsy, is this a rights thing? Is this one of those legal
I guess
matters?
it is, but still, come on, TSN, come on.
But if they can't do it, they can't
come
do
on,
it.
Then they signed a shit. Then they signed a shit deal. No, they signed a shit deal then.
Right. They might have
one for the Canadian Open, the one where you've got 15 Canadians or whatever it is.
Right.
Oh, nobody watches Thursday and Friday. We'll have lots of coverage Saturday and Sunday. Come on. Cover it. Like, how much can it cost you, really? Okay, instead of running the promos, do an insert. Do every time you go to commercial.
I think Bob Weeks lives at that golf course.
Well, no, he doesn't live. He's on Weston, I think.
Well, close enough.
But my point is this: it's the national championship. Right. You've got the rights. Okay, the Golf Channel has the rights for the first 2 days. I get it. Can you not go to the Golf Channel guy saying, "Listen, I can throw us a bone, show a shot of a Canadian guy." Once in 4 hours, they had the leaderboard of top Canadians. That was it. Whereas we're used to okay, let's go to 15 and see how Corey Connors is doing. And Jim Nelford is following him around. None of that anymore. Like fucking none. All right, I'm out. That's it.
Hebsy out.
Sign me out. By the way, Bruce Cassidy of the Bruins, you hear this? Okay, he gets told a couple of weeks ago by the GM, Don Sweeney, your job is safe. Your job. 2 weeks later, they fire him. Your job is safe, Bruce. If anyone ever tells you that, run.
Hebsy, your job on Hebsy on Sports is safe. I want you to know that.
That's it for episode 288 of the aforementioned podcast, Hebsy on Sports. Thanks to Toronto Mike, as always, for production and inspiration. Thanks to our fabulous sponsor, crosswindsgolf.com. Was out there the other day with my buddy Malcolm, just Gorgeous. So nice. Check it out. Crosswinsgolf.com. Save $10 per golfer if you book your tee time online. That's $40 for a foursome. See how I figured that one out? And a big thank you to our guest, Darren Pang from Central Michigan.
Oh, he was
TNT.
fantastic.
So good. We'll have to have him back. We never have enough time, but a great storyteller and lives on the same lake as Wayne Presley and Joey Koser. How about that? Wow. Big thanks to Panger. And thanks to you for allowing us into your headspace. We know you have other places to go. We know you have other podcasts to listen to. We're glad you listened to us. Back with another episode next week when our guest will be TBA.
Oh, that's a great guest, Hebsy.
Can't confirm yet. Working on a big name. Until then, so long for now.